long you've been here, only that you are running backward down this endless corridor, your small shoes scuffing against stained carpet, your heart thudding in your ears. You're a kid, maybe 9 years old, trying desperately to escape something you cannot bear to see. You keep facing forward, stepping backward, head craned over your shoulder as if to catch a glimpse of the hallway's end. Yet somehow the corridor stretches and warps, as if the building's very bones are alive, shifting with every flicker of the sickly overhead lights. You'd come here after dark. Your parents worked late, always late, huddled at their desks in this old office building's upper floors. They promised you just a moment more, a moment that never ended. Bored, you'd wandered out of the break room, down an unfamiliar hallway. You had thought to find a vending machine, a quiet place to read, anything to pass the time. Instead, you found a stairwell that creaked and groaned, descending into lower levels you'd never seen before. Stale air and dim lights led you to this dreadful corridor. This office was once a normal place, they said, a bustling hub of meetings and memos, until something terrible happened years ago, something whispered about but never fully explained. A sudden disappearance of the night shift workers, or so the rumor went. Their desks were found abandoned, half-written emails still open on their monitors, coffee mugs still warm, but no trace of the people themselves. The company folded soon after, the building sold and resold, eventually forgotten, until your parents found new jobs here, cheap rent, late hours, always working after sundown. No one explained why the halls felt colder at night, or why the wiring never stayed fixed. Now you know. Something awful and hungry lingered here, a stain of tragedy soaked deep into the walls, warping the structure itself into a nightmarish echo. Your breath hitches as you stumble backward, the overhead fluorescence spasming in and out. Each flicker reveals changes, wallpaper peeling in fresh patterns, shapes that might be faces stretching across the plaster, or a door that appears and disappears between pulses of light. The carpet feels damp and spongy now, as if soaked in invisible ink. The air reeks of mold and something harsher, like old chemicals left to fester in sealed drawers. You try to calm yourself, to remember that you are a child who found their way into a place not meant for the living. If you can just find your way back upstairs, if you can just retrace your steps. But you can't turn around. You can't face what's behind you, because each time the lights blink off, you feel it advancing, pressing closer, a presence that swallows sound and breath. You imagine it hovering right there, inches from your back, exhaling icy air onto your neck. You pass a series of darkened offices, their glass panels crack. One shatters with a muted pop, scattering shards that gleam when the lights pulse on. A moment later, those shards are gone, or rearranged into patterns on the floor that look almost like letters you cannot read. Doors open into impossible voids. The building's internal logic frays. Corridors branch off at strange angles, disappearing when you try to focus on them. Shadows stretch and distort, skittering along the walls as though alive. You realize, gasping, that the building isn't just old. It's cursed, caught between worlds. The vanished workers, your parents working late, you stumbling into its depths. It's as if the place has become a feeding ground for nightmares. Something about the collective despair, the fear, the confusion of those who vanished long ago has twisted this space into a hungry labyrinth. You have fallen into its key. Perhaps it drew you here, sensing your youth, your vulnerability. The hum of electricity falters. The hall is darker now, the intervals of light shorter and more frantic. You feel the hairs on your arms rise. Ahead, a faint green glow, an exit sign. Relief floods your chest as you shuffle backward toward it, ignoring the stinging tears in your eyes. The door beneath the sign seems solid, your last hope. Your foot catches on something, a dislodged floor panel, causing you to wobble. Behind you, a quiet whisper stirs in the silence, a susurration of promises or pleas you can't decipher. You reach the exit door at last and fumble for the handle without turning around. It's cold, clammy. You yank it open, your heart soaring with the idea of escape. Instead of a stairwell, you find a small, cramped room illuminated by a single flickering bulb. Inside it stands a figure, a silhouette at first. The bulb sputters, and as it does, you catch horrifying details. Two long arms jointed in unnatural places, an angled torso, a face half-turned but with too many eyes. They blink in uneven synchronicity, reflecting the bulb's sickly yellow glow. Your mind reels, struggling to understand. The figure's mouth pulls into an impossible grin, revealing rows of thin, needle-like teeth. It steps forward. The lights gutter out. You can't see anything now, but you can feel its presence. Close, impossibly close. Hear the creak of distorted limbs bending toward you. Your stomach twists in terror as you realize that this place was never meant to let you go. The building isn't simply haunted. It's alive, molded by the pain and fear of those trapped before you, hungry for more. In the final instant, as silence crushes your scream before it can leave your throat, you understand. You were brought here to feed its emptiness, to join the long-lost workers in whatever twisted dimension this has become. The darkness consumes all sense, and you are left with nothing but that final image burned into your mind. Those terrible eyes, that mocking grin, realizing too late that you were never going to escape.